Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories like these. Now, let's get into today's story video. Ada for not wanting my fiancé to dance to a love song dedicated to her late fiancé at our wedding. My fiancée Kayla was engaged to a guy she had dated for 3 years who died in a car accident before we met. I never dated a woman who had suffered such a loss before, so I've been learning as I go, but I've tried to understand that he will always be a part of her tale, and I welcomed her bond with her late fiancé's parents. They remained tight, and by the time we began dating, they were essentially her second set of parents. Kayla's biological parents and her late fiancé's parents were both wonderful people. Therefore, I consider myself fortunate to have 2 sets of wonderful in-laws. Kayla informed me that after the father-daughter dance, she would want to have a second dance with her late fiancé's father to the song Vanilla Twilight. She asked whether I was okay with that, and since I didn't want to be that man who said no, I answered sure. But it greatly bothers me that she would be dancing to a love song devoted to another guy during our wedding. I am delighted to create room in our lives for his remembrance. We have a picture of him on our mantle. We remember his birthday and the anniversary of his death, and I feel like I am sympathetic and helpful when she has a terrible day. And as I previously said, I am completely comfortable with his parents attending the wedding since, as I previously stated, we are all a family. But I also believe that our wedding will be centered on our relationship. Is it a jerk to beg her to rethink the dance? What are the best concessions in this situation? Update: I married the love of my life 2 months ago. I was thinking about this thread the other day, how it went, and where my brain was at the time I wrote it, and I thought you would be interested in an update. Anticlimactically, the thing I was worried about was a misunderstanding, which I'm sure occurs a lot here. Kayla wanted to dance with her late fiancé's, I'll just call him Luke from now on, father during our wedding, and Vanilla Twilight was an example of a song along those lines, not the set-in-stone top pick as I had assumed. I and many others in the original post spent a lot of time over analyzing the lyrics of that song, seeking for hidden significance in every word, when it turned out she hadn't put any thought into the idea beyond, this is a type of melancholy music that I enjoy. When we got together that night, she had created multiple playlists of potential first dance songs for us, songs for when she goes down the aisle, music to play at the reception, and song selections for her dance with Luke's father. We spoke about the wedding for hours while listening to them all. In her notebook, we even created a tournament-style bracket for our first dance song, pitting songs against one another until a winner emerged. And in the end, we spoke about the wedding and our relationship, Luke and the relationship, and loss, what it was like for her when she lost him, and what it was like for me when I lost my mother at a young age, what a family is, and everything we're hoping for in the future. We remained up till 3 a.m. just chatting, planning, laughing, and weeping a bit, and I'm so happy we did. After being assaulted with dozens of different viewpoints from dozens of various individuals earlier that day, I was concerned that I would have a disagreement with my fiancé soon before our wedding. But there was no dispute, just a recollection. After that night, I started making more of an effort to be active in the wedding planning process and genuinely ask for what I wanted, which Kayla liked. We also took a long weekend a few weeks before the wedding to go on a camping trip, just the 2 of us, which I strongly suggest to anybody getting married. Overall, I went from being somewhat insecure and enthusiastic, but apprehensive leading up to the wedding to being entirely at peace, joyful, and feeling stronger about my relationship than ever before. The wedding day itself was fantastic and well worth the wait. Kayla and Luke's father danced to Lean on Me, and I danced with Kayla's mother, which was incredibly emotional in a nice way. I really felt like the day was a celebration of our love, and I was overjoyed that Luke's parents were there to celebrate with us, since they are very much part of our family, and I wish I had the words to convey all the ways they've been there for us over the years. My lovely wife is who she is as a result of all the experiences she has had in her life, and I don't want to be the type of guy who wants her to pretend that she has never loved before me, or that her sadness is something that she can or should put behind her now that she has me. I just wanted to express how grateful I am that we were able to spend that night together, and that the wedding was filled with love and happiness. I never imagined I could be so content. Story 2. Ada for being upset that I'm not adopted. Okay, so in summary, I, 14-year-old female, was always told I was adopted. This is understandable. I've never doubted it. I have 2 fathers, who I name Abba/Papa and Dad/Daddy, whom I adore. Like a lot. I'm sorry if I come off as ungrateful in this post, but I'm just terribly wounded RN. Whenever I've mentioned my biological parents in the past, my parents have just shut down. My Abba will be silent and like he didn't hear me, and my dad will always shift the subject or tell me we'll speak about it when I'm older. I just began searching around to learn more about my biological parents. I did not disclose either of my fathers. I didn't want to hurt their emotions, anger them, or make them believe I was ungrateful. And, to cut a long tale short, I discovered my birth certificate. Surprise, surprise, as you can probably guess from the title of this article, I'm not completely adopted. The certificate had my Abba's name. I dug more and discovered a marriage record between him and the lady whose name appears on the certificate, who is my biological mother. It was a couple of years before my fathers married. I was in a lot of pain and perplexed. Do they think I'm shallow or something? And that I despise my father because we're not related? And why would they not inform me about my mother? By the way, he's still alive and well. I discovered her on social media. Married. There are 2 children. I think I began being quiet and keeping to myself because I didn't know what to do with this, and I was holding it all within. And then I was having this disagreement with my Abba, and I just snapped something about him not informing me about my biological mom and things. I had no intention of disclosing what I knew, but I did. And now they're both unhappy, and everything is a jumbled mess, and I feel like such a jerk. But I also believe I'm somewhat justified. The reactions of my friends to this have been mixed. I wish I hadn't looked into it. Ada? Edit? I'm not sure whether this is relevant, but a lot of people have been bringing up cultural perspectives on gay marriage and adoption throughout the years, so I grew up in America, not near the Bible Belt. My father is from England and came to the United States when he was a young adult. Growing up, my Abba moved about a lot. He met my dad on a trip to London, but he eventually settled in the United States. Update. Thank you very much for all of your comments and suggestions. I really appreciate it. I typed down everything I was thinking before the fight and ended up sitting down with my father a few days later to speak about it. I used I statements to explain how their failure to be honest about my adoption wounded me and made me feel as though they didn't trust me. It made me feel as though they thought I was shallow and would choose one of them over the other, which I don't, and it made me wonder whether we were all truly as close as I thought we were. It harmed our connection, in my opinion. They were quite understanding, and the discussion became intense and emotional. There was a great deal of sobbing. I won't go into specifics out of respect for their privacy, but here's the idea of it. Since they were adolescents, my Abba, born father, and dad, adopted father, were best friends. Whereas my father was openly gay, my grandfather was not. Abba eventually married my biological mother and had 2 children. They had a daughter, and then they had me 5 years later. My elder sister, whom I never met, died in a horrifying accident when I was a newborn. Their marriage failed, they divorced, and my biological mother couldn't cope and ended up in a mental institution for a short time. My Abba moved in with my now dad, and they both worked together to care for me and work through my grief. After a time, my Abba acknowledged that he was, and they married a few years later. Even before they were together, I was supposedly clinging to my dad as a newborn. He was the only one who could calm me down when I wanted my mom, and they were afraid of telling me because it might harm our connection. They intended to inform me when I was 5 or 6, but kept putting it off until it seemed to be too late. Instead, they just buried the past and prayed it would never be brought up again. My Abba and Dad both attempted to assist my biological mother get back on her feet and arrange visits once she was released from the hospital, but she severed all contact with them and signed away her parental rights. That was their final conversation with her. They had no clue she was still alive, much less had children. Even though I understand why they did it, I'm still wounded. I believe our connection has been harmed in some way, but it will improve with time. We're going to family therapy. The next step is to contact my biological mother. I'm considering whether or not to do it. I don't want to cause her any distress. My fathers are letting me make the decision, but they would want to be included in the process,